for
Okay,
for
Dan,
coming
it's
on.
good to see you again.
I need to share with the viewer that I knew David back in the 70s.
Yeah, we go way back. We go way back as teenagers.
Teenagers, right? In Co-op City.
Sitting in the Bronx, yeah.
That was a good time, right?
Yeah, I had my ups and downs, and our lives turned out differently and everything, but it's ironic that many years later, I think after 30-something years, you would contact me, we get back in touch, and that's very interesting. We've both changed a lot, we've both been through a lot, and
well, you've gone through a major change. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I contacted you.
Yeah.
I started writing to you, I think it was last December, maybe about a year ago.
Right, about a year ago, we began to correspond. Yeah.
And I was reading your website, and you're an author, and you have a ministry. You've been helping.
Well, I do the particular website is just set up by friends, and it's more of a spiritual site, to give people encouragement and hope and share my faith, as well as reach out to people who have struggles, needs, things like that. A lot of positive things, a lot of good things happening in my life today. I thank God for that.
Now you believe in Jesus Christ.
Yes. I'm a Jew, but I believe that Jesus is the Messiah of the Jews. I know other Jewish people have their views, but those are mine.
How did you get into that? I mean, you grew up, your parents were Orthodox.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Bronx, and my mom kept the house kosher. My grandparents on both sides of the family, kept the house kosher. And just like a normal Jewish kid growing up in the Bronx, I myself wasn't religious. I really had no, deep belief, but at the high holy days, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, things like that, I'd have to go to the synagogue. I was bar mitzvahed and, grew up in a Jewish home.
Where'd you grow up in the Bronx? Because I grew up in the Bronx.
I grew up in Soundview. That's
the Throgsneck area.
No, it's the southeast Bronx, just past Hunts Point area, Bruckner Expressway and near the Bronx River Parkway. Yeah. It was actually a pretty rough area. It got very bad. And it's one of the reasons we moved out. There was so much crime, and the apartment I lived in as a child, it was burglarized, and there were so many burglaries in the building. There were drug addicts on the rooftop because we were in a corner building. So it just became so unbearable. My parents wanted to move, and we ended up in Co-op City. It was like a new housing development. There was like a hope and a dream of a better life, and like tens of thousands, really, of middle-class people, that were in better areas of the city, they made their journey to Co-op City to start a new life.
That's right. Yeah. And the Bronx really changed.
Oh yeah, the Bronx changed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. There was a huge influx. I know I grew up on Grand Avenue in the West Bronx, and my building was pretty much destroyed.
Yeah, that area was very, very bad. Yeah, sure. It's yeah.
So when I moved to Co-op City, I think I was starting high school. So you were born in '53. So
yes, 1953.
So you're going to be 56 years old this year?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so when we were hanging out at Co-op City, I mean, I knew you from outside because we used to hang out with the other teenagers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now you were, what I most recall about you was that you were a member of the Firemen's Auxiliary Corps and the Police Auxiliary Corps.
Right, I was, there was an organization that allowed teenagers, when you become 18 or 17 or 18, to join the auxiliary police, so I got into that. I had always had an interest in being a fireman. You're a kid growing up in the Bronx, and I had met some other kids that had similar interests, so we kind of hooked up. You had your group of friends you stayed with, I had mine, and so we had similar interests. Yeah, I was an auxiliary police member in the 45th precinct for just a little while till I went into the Army, and then that all was, gone.
So as an auxiliary policeman, I guess that's what you would call it. What was your job?
Actually, we didn't have one. It was just a group that, in case of an emergency, there was like a civil disaster or something, we would mobilize and help out to direct traffic, or be just, carry things, or just be used where needed. But we really didn't do much. It was mainly just training exercises, and we had like this emergency services van, and it was just auxiliaries. But you know, we never really did anything. Never had, you know, it was like in the 60s, you remember the civil defense hats, and in case it was an attack, but that, of course, eventually, I guess, all disbanded.
And your best friend was Ed?
I had a friend, Ed, yeah, he was a great guy, yeah. His father was a New York City fireman, you know, so.
Do you ever hear from him?
No. You know, after I came to prison, I lost contact with all the friends I had, you know.
You know, it's interesting because I remember I had spoken to Ed, and you were in Korea at the time?
Yeah, in Korea.
And I distinctly remember him telling me that, because I asked him about you, and he said that you were having some problems in Korea or in the Army.
Well, I guess with depression, you know, I had, you know, my life as, you know, as in my teen years, adolescence, I mean, I had various emotional struggles and problems and things, you know, with depression. I don't recall exactly what it could have been, but yeah.
And then I saw you. I remember when you came back, and you were at the first shopping center, and you were standing there, and I walked across the street, and I said, Dave, how are you? And you said, you're doing well. And that was it.
Yeah.
And that was like probably in 74 or so?
Yeah, I got out of the Army in June of 74, so that probably would have been the time I ran into you, because I wasn't in the Bronx too much longer after that.
Because you lived in Building 3. Was your father still living there?
Yes, my father was, yes.
And then your father moved to Florida?
My dad, unfortunately, my mom, Pearl, she passed away in 1967, just before we were going to move to Co-op City. So she never got to go there. And my dad, you know, being I was an only child, my dad, of course, very lonely. He attended a senior citizen singles meeting in the community center on Dreiser Loop. And he met a woman who lost her husband, you know, so she was alone, and they ended up dating and eventually got married. They got married in 1971. So it was good for my dad, you know.
How was your father? Because I know he turned 98.
Yeah, he's going to be 99, God willing, in several months. Yeah.
You're very fortunate.
I'm very fortunate, and his health is good. I thank God for that. You know, he's getting along real well. He lost the wife he married in Co-op City. She recently died this past last year. So he's all alone now, and that's a struggle for me. I'm in here, he's out there, but we still communicate. We write each other, we speak on the phone, you know.
Are there any other family members that he can talk to?
No, I have some family members, but we're some estranged from them. You know, after what happened, they left, and I can't blame them. You know, I destroyed those relationships and regret that, but that's what happened, you know.
Would you like to establish those relationships?
Yeah, well, most of them now, they're almost strangers. It's been so long. Others, aunts and uncles and so forth, grandparents have all died off. I have some cousins that I may be able to reunite with soon, and I'm just waiting on that to happen. I have some friends working behind the scenes as kind of like peacemakers, and that's a story all in itself. But God willing, in this coming year, I'll be able to meet some family members from, you know, more than 30 years ago.